Hey everyone, welcome back to Motionplex. Today's session will focus on the basic fundamental elements of cinematography. Before we start, ensure that you don't forget to check Motionplex, a platform for creators that provides courses created by industry specialists.
You see sand here? Imagine water. If you dive in, you can't reach the bottom.
Now let's kick off our discussion. The role of a cinematographer is both complex and technical, making it challenging to summarize their duties in a single YouTube video. However, a director of photography has three fundamental responsibilities that are crucial to their work: exposure, lighting, and camera positioning and movement. These three elements correspond to the three departments on a film set that the DP oversees: camera, lighting, and grip departments. To excel in their field, a cinematographer must be proficient in all three areas and use them to capture a visual style that complements the story being told. Let's take a closer look at each of these aspects of cinematography to understand why they are essential in fulfilling the DP's role of building and capturing the look of a film.
He has a long history. Not all good.
Let's start with a fairly necessary feature of cinematography: the camera. Cinematography relies on the use of a camera to capture images. Light passes through a glass lens and hits the film plane, which can either hold a digital sensor or film stock. The final result of the footage depends on the amount of light that reaches the focal plane and the sensitivity of digital sensor or film stock in absorbing that light. This is what is known as exposure. It refers to the amount of light that is exposed to the film plane. Letting in more light will result in a brighter exposure, while letting in less light will mean a darker exposure. As a cinematographer, one of the most crucial tasks is to measure and ensure that the correct exposure is achieved. Exposure is a powerful tool that DPs can use to create an image that accurately reflects the tone and story of the film. For example, comedies usually have a brightly exposed image that reflects the light, comedic tone of the story. On the other hand, horror films typically have a darker exposure that sets a broodier, scarier psychological tone. In order to control the amount of light that enters the camera, a cinematographer can adjust three variables: the shutter, the aperture, and the ISO or film speed. Cinematographers usually control exposure by adjusting the aperture and film speed. The aperture is the hole in the lens that controls the amount of light entering the camera. It is measured as a T-stop in cinema lenses and as an f-stop in still photography lenses. Cinematographers adjust the exposure triangle of shutter angle, aperture, and film speed to achieve the desired exposure.
We imagine these things, and then fairly competent minds write science fiction, pose ideas, and then inspire scientists.
Now that we know how to manipulate the brightness of an image by manipulating the amount of light that is let into the camera, cinematographers must focus on how the light that is let in actually looks. Film lighting for movies is typically achieved with continuous light sources, in contrast to still photography, where a flash is often used. There are two primary functions of lighting in the film. First, creating a look for the film that is visually appealing and which suits the tone and supports the storytelling of the content that is being filmed. And second, maintaining a consistent source of light so that the exposure does not fluctuate unevenly during shooting. Aspiring cinematographers often believe that creating a captivating image is all about having a high-end camera to shoot with. However, the most crucial part of cinematography and producing an aesthetically appealing image is to focus on the lighting aspect. While there are no strict rules when it comes to lighting, it is essential to familiarize yourself with some fundamental lighting concepts and understand how light interacts with the subject. This is the most important initial step. Consistent lighting and cinematic continuity between different shots captured at different times are essential for a DP. After gaining control over the exposure and lighting of a scene in a way that complements the visual style of the story, the third essential aspect of cinematography is the position and movement of the camera.
I wasn't looking over my shoulder.
Yes, you were.
No, are we going to have a row about this?
When setting up a camera, there are some basic guidelines to follow. For example, the 180-degree rule. This rule suggests that the camera should be placed on one side of an imaginary axis when filming a scene that switches between two characters.
Genau. Also wie gesagt, was machst du hier?
This ensures that the first character is always positioned to the right of the second character. However, filmmakers may sometimes choose to break this rule on purpose for a specific effect. The way each shot in a movie is framed and executed should be a deliberate decision made by the director and cinematographer, as different camera movements can evoke different emotions in the audience. Just like different songs can make you feel various emotions, camera movements can also have a subtle but powerful impact. Cinematographers need to have knowledge of the psychological effect that camera movement and framing have on an audience. They also need to understand how to operate various grip rigs and gear to create different camera moves. For instance, a handheld camera creates a different feeling than a smooth tracking shot. Therefore, it is important to know how to place and move the camera correctly. So there you have it: exposure, lighting, camera placement, and movement. 3 basics that every DP consciously controls. As stated earlier, the 3 things discussed above only scratch the surface of cinematography. There are many other decisions that directors of photography have to make on a moment-by-moment basis while on set. However, when starting out, it is important to keep these 3 basic elements in mind and concentrate on using them to shape the visual tone of the cinematography to best fit the story. If you enjoyed watching this video and would like to share your thoughts, please let us know in the comments section below. Also, consider subscribing to our channel to get updates on more videos like this. Moreover, we recommend you to explore Motionplex, a platform that offers courses on animation, VFX, game design, and cinematography created by industry professionals. You can find the link to Motionplex in the description box below. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.